You know what this means. It's Likeable Leaders time. Welcome to another edition of Likeable Leaders. We are live streaming on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Facebook Live. I am super excited about my guest today. But first, as always, we have copies of books to give away. Today, we're going to be giving away a copy of a book that sounds a little dry, but it is actually super valuable and up to date. We're giving away a copy of the Annals of Entrepreneurship, Education, and Pedagogy 2021 edition, the latest and greatest. And the only way to win a copy of that book is to post a comment or question for me or my guest. Let me know where you're from. Let me know any questions that you have as we talk in the next 20 minutes or so, all about entrepreneurship education. Without further ado, I want to welcome our guest to Likeable Leaders. Julienne Shields is the CEO of the United States Association for Small Business and Entrepreneurship, better known as USASB. It's an organization that advances entrepreneurship education through bold teaching, scholarship, and practice. She had previously served as the director of the Center of Entrepreneurship at Millikan University, where she received her MBA before going on to complete her doctorate of business administration. Wow, she's way more credentialed than I am, at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Welcome to the show, Julienne Shields. Great to see you.
Well, thank you very much. I do have to say I haven't completed that doctorate quite yet, but yes, thank you.
You are soon on your way to completing it.
That's right.
We must have gotten your bio from a place that was very promising. We know that you get that.
We're always optimistic, right? Always optimistic.
Since we're on the subject, are we at an all but dissertation situation, or are we like a little bit short of that?
A little bit short of that, yes. So, well, COVID happened. This whole COVID thing happened. So,
this darn COVID. Well, let's jump into that then. You're really on the cutting edge of understanding what's going on around entrepreneurship and educating current and future entrepreneurs of the world. What do you think has been the biggest impact of COVID on entrepreneurship?
Well, on entrepreneurship, let me kind of take two different takes on that. One angle is on entrepreneurship itself. Existing entrepreneurs have really had dramatic effects, right? Either it's really hurt their organization and they've struggled to pivot, or some have been positioned and placed, then the timing's been quite perfect for their organization and they've really been able to take off. So that's one of the elements, that depending on how entrepreneurs have been positioned, it's either been really good or really bad. It's certainly made people flex their pivot muscles a lot to figure out, okay, maybe I wasn't very entrepreneurial before, but I'm having to flex those muscles again and learn how to be entrepreneurial again. The other side is, quite a few new businesses have started since 2020 for a number of different reasons, of course, but it's actually helped the number of small businesses that have started.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. I'm noticing that too. It's like kind of forced a lot of people to figure it out one way or the other, whether they maybe lost jobs or were downsized, or their previous businesses weren't operable, or for whatever reason. We're seeing quite a bit of that.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship education, Julienne. I was super excited when I met you and sort of learned about USASB and the work that you guys do, because I know so many entrepreneurs and so many small business owners, and the vast majority of them, when you ask, what training they had to become entrepreneurs, they're basically like, none. The School of Hard Knocks, we figured it out afterwards. I mean, I studied elementary education and psychology. I never took a single business class. I never took a single communications class, and I've started a number of communications companies, and so do you think traditionally entrepreneurship education has been lacking? Is that changing? How and if you are watching this and you're a young entrepreneur, an aspiring entrepreneur, where should you turn for education on how to become a better entrepreneur?
Yeah, so there's a lot in there. I think long time ago, the thought was entrepreneurs are born, they're not made, because it seemed to be familial, right? That it would be generated. And I really think that the learning was happening around the kitchen table, not necessarily within schools, right? So this was kind of how it was, 60, 70 years ago or so. And then it really started to be looked at as more than just this familial phenomenon, but it's really something that can be taught. So entrepreneurship can be taught and can be learned. So this is the important, and given that context, it's absolutely important to have it in colleges, community colleges, grade schools, elementary schools, all over, in the community as well. It can be taught, it can be learned. And so the fundamental question isn't where should it be taught, it's where shouldn't it. I don't think there is a place where it shouldn't be taught, right? It can be incorporated and infused into everything, because it's really about how do you create value. And that's exactly, it's a very forward leaning kind of conversation that is so important in our world today.
Well, I love that. As somebody that is, I think, as pro-entrepreneur as anybody on the planet, I love your thesis that, where shouldn't it be taught? It should be taught basically at every level. I used to go in to my daughters, I started going into my kids' classes, and one of my favorite visits ever was a lesson I did on entrepreneurship for our 5th grade class, and really on entrepreneurship as problem solving. And I had all the kids think of problems in their lives and a business idea to solve that problem. And it was really, frankly, I think very effective. And so I agree with you. I think entrepreneurship can and should be taught K through 12, certainly all aspects of higher education. And then to your point, even in the corporate world, so that, I think about entrepreneurship and how even within the company setting, folks can use entrepreneurial thinking to help better their organizations and the businesses that they work for. So I'm delighted to hear that. We have our first winner. Congratulations, Jennifer Farley of Maine. Jennifer Farley of Maine, you are going home with a copy. Hold it up there, Julienne, of Annals of Entrepreneurship, Education, and Pedagogy 2021, the latest edition that is put out by USASB. And you said, what are there, 70 different authors?
Yeah, there's over 70 contributors, and there's about 30 some different chapters. As I was explaining to Dave, it's kind of thick, but it's all created in a consumable format. So it's nice bite-sized chunks of nuggets of amazingness right in there.
Awesome. So a couple more questions about entrepreneurship education. And then as always, I'm going to take questions from our audience. If you have a question for Julienne or for me, please post it in the chat. And then, of course, as always, we'll also talk about the principles of likable leadership. When it comes to entrepreneurship education, how important is real world experience? How important is sort of out there experience building businesses, failing at businesses, practicing at businesses versus, I guess, so-called classroom education?
Yeah, so it's two different things as well, right? It's not just what we need to teach. That's super important. Research on what needs to be taught is very important. But then translating it through how it is taught is also important. And I think this is what you're getting at. It's this entrepreneurship, I often describe it as a very muscular way of learning. You have to do it in order to really understand that failing does hurt. So how do you reframe it so that you're not really failing so that it hurts, but you're failing forward so that you're learning and incorporating those into your next steps. So it's absolutely, in my opinion, incredibly important to be practicing entrepreneurship in different, it doesn't have to be financially risky, but you have to do something in order to fail at it. You can't imagine failing at it and really gain the same kind of experience. And failing itself, I know, is kind of one of those F words, right? But it's an important word to become comfortable with, because once you realize that the sun does come up the next day, you're even more apt to say, oh, well, I can take on a different kind of risk or a bigger risk or reframe it in a different way. That's what's so important about entrepreneurship is if you get it right the first time and there's not a second time, have you really learned the lesson, right? So,
Yep.
so it's a very muscular thing. So you got to do it in the real world.
Luckily, you very, very rarely get it right the first time. So,
all right, luckily.
okay, I think this is a softball, but because I think you may have already really answered it. But I've seen a lot of discussion recently with my new obsession with Clubhouse, the audio streaming social app, on whether entrepreneurs are born or made. To what extent do you think entrepreneurs are born versus made, Julienne?
Ooh, so I think that there's proclivities that some people are born with, preferences, and there's some things that you're born with, or that you're nurtured, your early childhood might nurture you in such a way, but becoming an entrepreneur is something that anybody can do. Anybody can learn how to do it. Anybody can be good at it. It's about grit, it's about resilience, and those are things that are developed over time, not necessarily something that you're born with.
Cool. Thank you. If you're just joining me, I am live with Julienne Shields of USASB, the United States, shoot, I left the bio.
Association for Small Business and Entrepreneurship.
Association for Small Business and Entrepreneurship. Thank you. So we're talking about entrepreneurship education. If you have a question for Julienne and for me, please post it in the chat. And we have 2 more books to give away as well. Dan from Illinois has a question, which I'm happy to answer. I'll give you first crack at it, but it's really more of a building a business question. But he wants to know how to get noticed when starting a home radio station, which is a super interesting concept. Any thoughts, Julienne, before I jump in with an answer?
That is so out of my realm of expertise. I'm going to pass that right off to you, Dave.
Okay, cool. And I would say, Dan, that it's kind of outside of my expertise as well. Although what I would say is, in starting any business, I would want to get validated. And, you sort of asked about getting noticed. So I would say I would probably use other communication tools that people are more likely to be using, like social media, to at first get people's attention and to drive them to listen to your home radio station. One of the challenges I think with home radio is the signal reach, but I guess you could probably be online as well. So it's really, what you probably mean is more of an online radio station. Feel free to send me a private note, Dan, and I can answer you in greater detail. But kudos to you for attempting to build something. Most people are too afraid to even start or try. So I do appreciate that. Okay, we have our second prize winner. It is, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Sanjana Bandari. Sanjana from New York, my great state. Congratulations, you're going home with the Annals of Entrepreneurship Education and Pedagogy, Volume 4, 2021 edition, fresh off the presses, the latest and greatest in entrepreneurship education research. And hopefully you will be able to use that to help build your business and learn more about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship education. So congratulations, Sanjana. I'm going to turn our attention, as we always do, to the Likeable Leadership Pyramid. Christina, my apprentice, an amazing producer on the other side of the glass, or in this case, on the other side of the Zoom, other side of the country, as it were, on the West Coast to my East Coast. Thank you, Christina, for sharing. And Julienne, I'm going to ask you in a moment to share the likable leadership, likable business traits that resonate the most with you as a leader. But first, I'm going to ask our audience that's watching live to share which of these 11 traits resonate the most with you. And our final winner, our grand prize winner, will win a copy of both Julienne's Annals of Entrepreneurship Education and Pedagogy, Volume 4, and my most recent book, The Art of People, 11 Simple People Skills to Get Everything You Want. You get both prizes, but the only way to win is to post a comment right now saying which of the following 11 likable leadership principles resonate the most with you. Is it listening? Is it storytelling? Is it passion? Is it teamwork? Is it surprise and delight? Is it responsiveness? Is it simplicity? Is it authenticity? And is it transparency? Is it adaptability or gratefulness? Post a comment now with your choice. Which do you think is most important as a leader? And now I ask you the same question, Julienne. Which one or two of these resonates the most with you?
Ooh, as a leader. So yeah, I would say listening is probably one of the things that has served me very well in my own life, as well as they're all good. They're all good, Dave. Wow.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no.
Got to choose one or two.
You're good. I would have to say adaptability is the other one that's been very important in especially in my life this past year, right? Adaptability has been an everyday occurrence. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine over the past year, you guys have adapted how you serve your members and how you educate your members and the world around these topics. I know you just started the Bold Entrepreneurship Education TV. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, one of the things to tell you a little bit of a story is that one of the things that USASB is very well known for is our amazing once a year conference, our annual conference, because it's an academic conference, but we don't treat it like a typical academic conference. So it's a really joyful place for entrepreneurship educators to come together. And no matter if you're, the top entrepreneurship educator in the country, or you're, an adjunct who's just trying to figure this out, everybody's on a level playing field. And so that's what we really are well known for. Well, COVID couldn't get together. And so we had an online conference, all online. And what we found was something that is very common these days is, we would have a conference session with some amazing content and presenters, and we'd have great people there as the audience members, but 3.5 times as many people were accessing that content after the conference, after the event itself. So we decided that we were going to curate amazing content and deliver it throughout the year, kind of like Amazon Prime. So grab your fuzzy slippers and your beverage of choice, and on a Thursday night, you'll be able to tune into the Bold Entrepreneurship Education television channel and see what the new content that's been curated by USASB is. And it could be teaching tips, it could be an interview with an entrepreneur, it could be some great new research that's coming out, but it's all curated just for our members.
Love it. And clearly adaptability was very important to you this year. And tell me a little bit about why you chose listening.
Yeah, so listening is really important from the standpoint of it's for entrepreneurs as well, not just leaders, but entrepreneurs have to listen to the customers. And listening doesn't always mean what they're saying, but it's also what they're doing and how they're behaving. And so it's that I suppose I've learned a lot when I started listening to more than just people's voices. I started understanding better how to lead.
Oh, I love that. And Christina, we need to turn that into a quote card from this interview. It's fantastic. Listen to your customers, not just what they're saying, but what they're doing, because you can learn quite a bit from that. So really, really great, valuable stuff, Julienne. We have a couple more questions here. Why did you want to become a business owner and entrepreneur? I will answer that first, and then feel free to jump in with your thoughts. I love entrepreneur. I initially became a entrepreneur for more freedom time with my family, and that was now 13 years ago, and I've since, I guess, become an entrepreneur 4 or 5 more times. And so now, really, my main reasons for being an entrepreneur. It started off as freedom, and now it's really to change the world. I know that it's the best way that I can have the most impact on the world. So that's why I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that a lot of that resonates with me as well. I didn't go out intending to be an entrepreneur, but I learned about open book management in one of the companies that I worked for. And I realized that the decisions that were being made had to do with these things called finances, right? And there were stories in those finances. And as you were an entrepreneur, as you were an owner in the company, you actually got to understand those more. After that experience, I actually was an entrepreneur with 2 other partners. And it's choosing who you want to work with. And then you're exactly right. It's feeling this sense of that you're actually changing the world and improving it. It's a really powerful thing.
Awesome. And last question, and then we are going to choose a grand prize winner. So last chance to post a comment in order to win a copy of both books from you, Sosby, and from me. This is an interesting question. How important is a firm business plan, or is an evolving business plan better? You want to take first crack, or me? Me first. You can take.
I'm happy to go first on this one. I really feel like the business plan itself is really just to communicate with, funding agencies, really, right? I mean, a business plan is just to say, yes, I've gone through the process, but it changed the moment you write it down, it's out of date, right? Something has changed since then. So it's an exercise in helping others understand that you know the complexity of the business, but in and of itself, it's not really worth the paper, right? So
I totally agree with you on that, Julienne. And the only thing I will add is I think it's valuable to maintain long-term a vision and a strategy and mission and values, but the tactics will inevitably change a lot. And so I would be cautious about changing a business plan more than once a month, once a quarter. But I think, to your point, it has to be, at this point in the world, a living, breathing, evolving document. It simply has to be. And I say the same thing, by the way, unfortunately, about websites. Every website I've ever built for any company, the moment we finally publish it, I'm like, actually this, and this. So it's just the way life goes. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to thank Christina, my apprentice and our producer. I want to thank Julienne and the great team at USOSB. Most of all, I want to thank you guys for watching, for tuning in, for spending your precious time with us today. Our grand prize winner, winning both education and annuals of Entrepreneurship Education and Pedagogy Volume 4 and The Art of People, 11 Simple People Skills That Will Get You Everything You Want, is Richard Nee from New Jersey. Congratulations, Richard. You're our grand prize winner. Send us your address, and others that won earlier, please send us your address. We'll get those books out to you later. Thank you again, Julienne, for joining me today. And until next time, everyone, have a likable rest of your day.